What is up, YouTube? Bubbles and Ball Cards back with another video. It's been a while since I've done a recorded collecting or hobby topic type video, really. Um, as y'all are aware, most of my content stems from previews and reveals, so bear with me as I try to get back in front of the mic and have a discussion that hopefully you guys will enjoy. Um, As you know, a couple evenings ago, Willie Mays passed away. It actually happened while I was live doing the SGC grade reveal. It happened probably around, I think the post, like somebody posted somewhere around 8:30 to 9 o'clock. And so, one of the arguably greatest players in baseball is no longer with us. Someone that, lived a very long life. He was at 93 years old, as you can see on the screen. And someone that in the card hobby is, potentially you could argue and say maybe has been overlooked, but everyone knows his name. Like everybody knows Willie Mays. And so this stemmed this idea for this video, and I actually wanted to follow up on this anyway, but the timing of this happening, this event, kind of makes it even more of a reason to do this video now. So if you are new here or you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for me. Leave me a comment below after you watch this and let me know your opinions. And if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up, that like button. It helped me out as well. But I want to go ahead and mention the Because I'm Carlos channel. Although I haven't been doing a lot of content on this channel or my reselling channel, 540 Flips, um, I have been doing a podcast with Carlos and Eric, and it comes out every Tuesday morning. It is something we have been doing for quite a while now. I think if I counted correctly, we have done like 41 episodes, but you can see them here: BIC 81, 80, 79, 77. Sometimes Carlos will pop in and do like a standalone episode where he's just talking, sharing his thoughts. But overall, every Tuesday morning, an episode drops with me, Carlos, and Eric, and it's a lot of fun. We give each other crap, but we also do talk about the hobby and maybe things going on or collecting. And today, I want to kind of talk about collecting, and I want to reflect on something that we discussed a couple episodes ago. And it goes back to Willie Mays. I recently, actually, it's almost a month now. I think it was May 22nd. I sold my 1951 Bowman Willie Mays. And before we were recording the episode, I was kind of talking to the guys, and Eric was like, I just have a question. Like, how do you let something like that go? Like, once you have it, how do you let it go? And I thought it was a very valid question. We had a very good conversation on it. And I would say some people may not understand it. Some people may argue it. They may say it's a bad decision. But keep in mind that throughout the history of this channel, I have showed that the journey is is the most awesome part, really, and the people, obviously. But as far as the cards go, I mean, I shared when I obtained the '86 Fleer Jordan, and obviously it was different situation, circumstances, but the hobby was going crazy. The card went stupid crazy, and it just didn't make any sense to sit on it and just let it continue to go down. After I had gotten it, the whole circumstances leading up to me getting it was crazy. Like I had bought a little pack of Pokemon from Walmart, and My wife pulled a Charizard. I sold that Charizard to buy a different original Charizard, and by the time it came in the mail, it had like 5x'd, which that doesn't happen anymore. But then I took that as the day it came in the mail to Chantilly and sold it and used those funds to buy the Jordan, and then the Jordan soared. It was just this chain of events where everything was just skyrocketing out of nowhere. And those periods versus today are different, 100% different. And so when I was selling the cards back then, it was because, all right, this doesn't make any sense. It's going to go back down. Well, let's just, you know, have the story, have the memory even of obtaining the card, but let's go ahead and do the smart thing and take advantage of the stupid market and make a little bit of profit on it. So that's what I did, and that led up to me, several decisions in there like that led up to me being able to obtain some very awesome cards that, to be honest, if the pandemic never happened, I never, ever, 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 ever would have owned. And I'm not even talking on a financial sense. I'm talking, I just wouldn't have been able to talk myself into spending the kind of money that I did on certain cards. And so recently, well, for a while, I have been kind of evaluating my collection. I've been looking at, um, like, kind of just giving my reason why. Why do I collect? Why do I collect what I collect? And kind of picking pieces that are just really important and meaningful and special to me, like, things that I have an attachment to. And then pieces that it was, well, kind of a chase, right? And I look at things sort of like the maze as being just a chase. um, it was awesome to get it. I was proud of owning it, but at the same time, I didn't have an attachment to it because I was just the accomplishment there. The journey was just affording it, really, and or finding a copy that I felt confident in spending that much money on. And so when I look at those, it's not the same as like my Nationals collection, or some of the Raven stuff I have, or my Michael Taylors. Y'all know I like collecting Michael Taylor, or my Jason Robertsons, right? Those I have an attachment to. Those I have a connection to. And so I've just been going through, and there are still some like vintage cards that I'm not getting rid of. There are some vintage pieces that are part of the story, part of the connection, they have that attachment to me. And so I'm not letting those go. But I also realize we can't hold on to everything. And I was kind of buying a lot of this stuff to think that I was being smart to put away for my kids. And that's kind of leading into the topic I want to talk about today. With this passing of Willie Mays, I was very curious to see, especially since I sold mine already, done deal, didn't know he was going to pass away. It is what it is, right? No regrets. But I was curious to see what the Willie Mays card market would do, because historically we know reactionary spending happens when these situations occur. And I think this is giving an example. And again, I know people are going to argue and say that there's holes in my statements. And let's be clear, this isn't showing the entire picture, but I think it's an interesting example, and it's an interesting way to look at this. So I actually went on and I went to Terapeak here, and I typed in 1951 Bowman Willie Mays, and I will refresh this just so we can have a fresh screen here. And I have this in chronological order for date. As you can see, the date of last sold is June 19th. There has not been anything of the sorts of 1951 Bowman Willie Mays sold today, according to Terapeak. Um, Now, this is going to show reprints if person put 1951 in the title, the chromes, all of that stuff. It's going to show these sales. But something I want to just go through here, and we are going to look at these sales. So we have one SGC3 here. It sold for 74.77. We have a PSA 5 miscut that sold for 69.80. We have a PSA 3 that sold for 5,400 on the 18th. And then we have a PSA 5 also on the 18th that sold for 14,988 and 99 cents. Now you see the 17th. So since the announcement of him passing away, there has been 4 sales of the iconic 1951 Bowman Willie Mays. 4. I went over here to the 4 sales, and I'll come down here, take off auction. So we have all of the listings. It says 272 results. Again, this is a bit skewed because there's things in here that are not the Willie Mays, but the point is there is a lot available right now. There is a good amount available. You can see here, I'm scrolling on through, lots of them available. And things like this obviously are getting mixed in, but overall, there is a good amount of the actual 51 Bowman Willie Mays available. And I do have this skewed to graded to take out some of the junk that's in there. And it tells me 276 right there. But then I went to auctions because I wanted to see what are the auctions looking like. And it tells me there's 18 auctions. That is not accurate because there is a couple cards like this one, these that are mixed in. That's not a 51 Bowman. So there is less than what it's actually showing here. And as you see, we do have some here that have bids on them. And then there's some that don't have bids. This one has 3 days left, and it has no bids. Starting bid of $8,000. No bids. There's several here. Obviously, this is a BVG 6, 40,000 starting bid. And then you have some down here with no bids. Now, why am I sharing this, and what is my point to this? Well, I have been of the thought that people, and some people have argued, and that's perfectly fine. I understand that people have a passion for different things, but I try to look at things in my own opinion and share that. And others are allowed to have their opinion as well. But I'm trying to base things on current day and like trends, trying to follow trends. I do have 2 kids. One, my daughter's 18, my son is 23, trying to look at the generational trends, that sort of thing, and kind of pick out what I see from that generation. And then also looking at generations prior to mine. And I think what I have realized is, and obviously doing reselling, I go to estate sales and all of that stuff now, and I see people getting rid of their loved ones' belongings that would have fit the time period of maybe pulling or collecting these, 50s cards, 60s cards, 40s, 30s cards in their childhood, and now they're passing on. Well, those items that were once popular from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s on aren't necessarily as popular today. There is a few things out there that have recycled back into popularity, but not everything. And I think when you're looking at items such as vintage sports cards, specifically very expensive vintage sports cards, you have to understand that they were perceived as rare or not as abundant because many of them were stashed into these collections or these people's belongings for so long because those generations just kind of held on to things. Um, But as they pass on, they're becoming more available. And then you have to look at the age range after that, that wants these cards. And many folks already have them, and many others either aren't willing or aren't capable of spending the amount of money it takes to acquire these cards. And this has been my thought process for a bit now, and I've shared it because the future is where it's going to get even murkier. As more and more, like, think about our generation, us, I'm saying our, as in the 30 to 55, 60-year-old folks who may still have that appreciation for vintage. But what happens as those folks start passing on? And then the next generation has less of an interest. The longevity of the safety net on these vintage cards becomes less and less and less. And I think what we're seeing here is you have a very iconic card, one of the greatest players to ever play baseball, but you're not seeing a lot of movement in his 51 Bowman rookie right now after his death. That is interesting to me because normally people go bonkers out buying, buying, buying. And I've even done a video when John Madden passed away about the reactionary purchases when somebody passes away. And we're not seeing that right now eh, with the Bowman. Now, I wanted to go over here and I did pull up because I was curious. What did the 52 tops look like? Because this is another argument I've had that I don't think people are as connected to the rookie now, especially in today's generation. Um, or the rookie won't be as significant. And I'm not specifically talking about vintage rookies, but today's rookies, there's so many of them, they've lost their importance, and I'm wondering if that's going to change looking back into vintage even, if some folks may say, "Well, I can't get the rookie, but I really like this one, I'm gonna get it instead." So I went to the 52, and it's still a very expensive card, but I wanted to see what the movement was on it because if you look at Mantle, you know, obviously there's a story there with the Mantle, but you look at that and how it outpaces the Bowman. I wanted to see is that part of it or what are we actually seeing? So looking at the 52 tops, you have a sale here for 2,500 PSA Authentic Altered. You have a 2313 on an SGC Authentic. You have a 2125 on an SGC Authentic Altered, a SGC 5 at 12,500. You have a 4950 sale of a PSA 2. You have a 1900 on a PSA 1 pour, a 9500 on a PSA 4. 6450. Now this was an auction, so there's no way that ended like that started when he passed. So I don't know. This only had 4 bids, so I'm not gonna say it was a reactionary price. 2300 on an SGC Authentic, 1888 on a PSA 1 with MK qualifier on 1888. And then I think that was it. Let's look here. Yeah, that one. Well, this is an autograph one. Let's see. PSA 1.5, 3882. Um, I guess there is more. An SGC Authentic, 2299. And that's it. Okay. So right off the jump, you see there was a lot more of those sales. And I think another thing to keep in mind here, a lot of those sales on the 52s were low grade. And that's a key of what I was talking about on the affordability of them. People were buying an entry level copy, something they could afford. I'll tell you, those cards are going to be cheaper than even the copy of the 51 that I had. And so that gave them a different avenue. I would expect if I went to the 53s, the fours, all of those going on, the sales you would see maybe a bit more of those because of the price point. And so then I wanted to see, well, how about the auto market? Because this is where things really, really get interesting, is because I think today's people, like especially the people that have came back or the new people that have came into the hobby, they're more connected with the autographs, the relics, that sort of thing. And it feels like the item has a meaning because the player signed it, and maybe they're disconnected a bit from those vintage rookies. So, what did the autograph market do on Willie Mays? Now, keep in mind, be very, very, very careful if you are buying a Willie Mays auto, because even if it has the Say Hey authentic hologram, many of those are faked. I don't remember the story about those holograms. If somebody got fake holograms made or if there was some stolen. I don't remember, but I know there's a lot of them, even with that certification, which was supposed to be Willie Mays's authentication hologram. Many of those are fake. He has a lot of fake autographs out there. So let's just look, and I'll go ahead and hit this. We'll take a look here. So June 19th, again, it's not showing me anything for today, but you can see 700, 650, 1500, 766, 400, like lots of hundreds, like, that $300 to $500 price point on some of these Willie Mays. Now, this is 50 per page, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. We're going to just flow through here real quick. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So right here is where it ends. Now, that's not an autograph. It does have a few things mixed in here, but there's 6.5 pages if you just look at Terapeak for autographs. And most of these are autographs. There'll be a few things mixed in, but when you look at that, that is by far a, a a greater number. Like I said, there's 50 per page. So we got 6.5 pages. So 325 sales versus 4 on the 51 Bowman. So my question to you is, are we seeing the change? What I have discussed, are we seeing that change? Are people not wanting the 51 Bowman? Are they just not able to afford it? Do they already have it? Or is the hobby just more connected with autographs today? With the way everybody needs a hit out of the box or the pack or whatever, is the hobby just more connected to that relic and autograph, even if it's just a baseball or a bat or a jersey? Is that kind of the direction the autograph need versus just having an iconic vintage rookie card? That's the question. Is this a sign of a change in the hobby? Remember, Willie Mays is one of the greatest ever. His rookie card is one of the iconic cards, and he just passed away. Historically, we see everybody rush out buying things, the prices shoot up. They'll hold there for a bit, till the talks die off, and then they'll start correcting. You'll see a lot of availability sitting there with these high numbers, but the things aren't selling. And eventually, prices will correct, in many cases, below what the initial price was before the death happened. We're not seeing that currently. And I also wanted to go over here and I put in 51 Bowman, Willie Mays, and I gave a specific grade, PSA 3. I did that because there was a recent sale right here. It also wasn't the lowest of grades, so I felt it was fair. A PSA 3. You see here, 5,400. There was one sold on June 13th that did 6,200. So on the day of his death, one sold for $800 less. Now you can argue, eye appeal and all that, and I completely understand that. But what you cannot argue is looking back just last year when we were in this time frame, here's December, here's March, we can go February. February to March or February to December, right here, 2023. You have 8256. You have 8,000. This was an MC designated, so that one's kind of wiped out because it has the qualifier. You have 7750. You have 7875, 8250, and 7445. Today, you're getting $2,000 to $3,000 less in 1 year. That is nearly, what is that, 40%, give or take, decline in 1 year on a card as iconic as the 51 Bowman. Again, I know people are going to argue. I'm not saying vintage cards suck. That's not what I'm saying. I loved owning this card. It is a very important card. What I am saying though is it appears as if what my thoughts were is starting to happen. I mean, this card should have been one of the safest buys anyone had out there. In fact, if you bought this card in 2023, it should not have only been safe, but he was still living and in his 90s. And historically, like I said, when someone passes away, the prices shoot up to the moon and they'll stay there for a little bit and then they correct back down. Instead, these people, if this person sold their card that they bought in December, December 31st, that was their New Year's Eve gift for $74.45. If they had sold it on the day of his passing, they would have lost $2,000. One of the most iconic cards of one of the most iconic players. So, again, my question to everybody is, and I know I've made this long, I talk a lot when I do these videos. Is this a clear sign of a change in the hobby? Is my feelings about the future and vintage, is this a good example that's kind of showing those thoughts and feelings? And this isn't to tell people you need to go sell all your vintage cards. They're going down, they're going to crap. That's not what this is about. I still have vintage that I am keeping. This is about, it's not as safe. It's not, when you hear these people, and I've been guilty of it. I don't think it's the necessarily smart play to go spend $100,000 on an ultra modern card. I would say it's safer to put it in a vintage card, but that's just perception as well because I look at the new players haven't done anything and the legends are there. But again, people have to want the legends or else they're going to sit there. They're going to lose value because in order to move them, the card is worth zero until someone buys it. And in order to move it, you're going to have to lower your price. And that's going to put a strain on the market value of it. And so the more that gets put out there, the more that strain becomes. So, just remember, um, nothing is safe. Really, nothing is safe right now. And my best recommendation, I will follow up on this in a future video. Um, be sure that what you're spending your money on, what you're putting your time into, be sure it is part of your why. Be sure it is part of what you have fun doing. Remove the dollars and cents and just ask yourself, is it enjoyable for you? Does it have a meaning to you? Is it why you enjoy collecting sports cards? Anyway, hope you all enjoyed. I know this was long. Leave me a comment below. Tell me your thoughts. As always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and until the next video, I'm out.